All right, everybody. Hopefully, you're doing amazing out there. I'm excited to come at you live and kickstart some of the market updates, see where we're at, where we're going, and ultimately look at some markets that I think have some potential and take a look at where we're headed from here. So, if you're all excited and you're joining me, make sure you like the broadcast and you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That basically tells YouTube that I'm a cool dude and you like what I'm talking about. And it tells them that maybe I'm someone that they should put more people in front of. So I'm not sharing my screen just yet. If you're following this on Twitter, make sure you like and retweet the tweet that I put up just now about the broadcast. And let's jump in. Thanks for telling me about the screen, though. I did forget last time, and I was like, mother of God, I just talked for 12 minutes and there was no screen. So first thing we're going to go into is CoinMarketCap. So let me know if you can see the screen on here. I'm going to come back over here and check. Y'all can see the screen now. I think we're good to go because I can see the screen sharing part. Cool. So CoinMarketCap, what we were at previously, this was like an 87 or something. So the fear and greed index has gone down quite a bit. It was down here. came up a little bit since Bitcoin kind of got through the era of FUD. The era of FUD. During the era of FUD, we experienced KuCoin being investigated. We also experienced Coinbase and some minor news about their lawsuit. And all of this FUD came together to try to bring us down, but didn't work. We were too strong. We united and we fought the FUD. And now we're not looking too bad. So we're kind of a little bit higher than we were. It was creeping back down, but honestly, things look good. I mean, Bitcoin's up 7% over the day. We're back in the 70,000s. It held the danger zone that I was talking about in the Dudes Lab server. ETH is okay. It's kind of just sitting there. ETH and Solana haven't been running as much. And mainly the reason behind that is because Bitcoin is pretty much, this is a Bitcoin-led rally until Bitcoin pushes hard and then moves sideways. So we're going to see Bitcoin kind of outperform ETH and pretty much everything else at this point. So it's to be expected until our alts start running again. So right now we're looking at 7% over the last 7 days on Bitcoin. ETH is only 1%. We've got BNB and Solana kind of performing together. Dogecoin is an absolute monster, 43% up in 7 days. I called this in the Dudes Lab server. I said I was going to grab some at like 16 cents, I think. And so we're up quite a bit on that at this point. It looks like we're going to go up quite a bit more. So it's looking pretty good. Sheeb's looking pretty good as well. Sheeb kind of follows Doge. Dogecoin is essentially the Bitcoin of memes. So when Doge pumps, Sheeb pumps. When Sheeb pumps, Pepe pumps. They all pump. WIF is also moving quite well. We'll go over memes in a little bit, but I kind of just want to go over a market overview. Internet Computer is up 37%, which tells me that data and like DPIN starting to probably move a little bit too, going into that rotation. Starting to see Aptos move quite a bit. STX typically moves with Bitcoin. You kind of get the upside of Bitcoin, essentially like double or triple the upside of Bitcoin by just being in stacks. Render AI. Let's see what else looks good. Mantle, 45% up, not too bad. So dog whiff had it looked a little almost sketchy on the daily, and then it retested and just bounced super hard. This thing's going strong. I mean, we're at 3 billion market cap. It looks like it's going to be a contender to be the top, one of the top memes. Outside of that, let's kind of get into what the overall market looks like. There's a lot of good stuff. FET with some great news. We had FET, AGIX, and Ocean Protocol that had the concept of merging their tokens into one super token, which was amazing because I hold Ocean in my portfolio. I also hold Render, but Ocean pumped a lot, FET pumped a lot. So if all three of those combine, it's going to create this $7 billion market cap coin that's going to be ready to take over the AI world, which would be amazing. So looking through everything else kind of just moving. Market doesn't look bad. Bonk up 23%. It is memes right now. Singularity, so AGIX pumping on the news. We've also got Ocean Protocol pumping on the news. Synthetics has actually been moving quite well. We hold that in the portfolio. Let's see, we got Ondo, RWAs. We'll go over that in a minute. Ondo is moving quite well. So let's kind of get into the charts. Can you go through RWA picks? Yeah, I'll go through RWAs. I think that'll be super important for this one. I'm going to share my trading view. So trading view. Wow, look at Ocean. So I think we decided that's the monthly view. Let's go to the daily. That view is just overwhelming. So when we're on the daily with Ocean, we don't really need to look at it yet, but man, look at that. It just had a beautiful pump right here off the news and then retraced a little, but kind of regained most of the ground it lost. So it's looking good. First thing we want to look at today, though, is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is going up. So we're at 54%, and it looks like it's starting to clear this kind of resistance zone. So that tells me that Bitcoin dominance is probably going to push back up to like the 55% high, which is not good for altcoins. So that tells me that Bitcoin is about to go on a pretty good rally. And what that means is Bitcoin and memes will probably rally the hardest because Bitcoin dominance is going to go up. It means alts will suffer a little bit because obviously when Bitcoin goes up, liquidity transfers into Bitcoin and you can anticipate it taking the liquidity from the market. When we look at the Bitcoin dominance, it's crossing over the 50 and the RSI. It's already cleared above this resistance zone it had. It retested, it held above. So if it pushes, probably going to go on a tear. When we look at total 3 market cap, excluding Bitcoin and ETH, so what do the altcoins actually look like? They actually don't look too bad. We had a bounce off the daily push, and it's consistently driving up, which is going to be peculiar to watch because we're seeing Bitcoin dominance go up. So in theory, the altcoins will go up with Bitcoin. They just won't run as hard as Bitcoin. So that's kind of something to be expected when we look at Bitcoin on the charts. When Bitcoin was on, when we had the era of FUD that happened, maybe it was this last week. It was, oops. So this last week, we had the era of FUD come out, and all this stuff came out and just tried to collapse the coin. So we had this pretty good push. On the daily, we had the RSI reset right here and then double reset. Now it looks like it's in a pretty good position, but you can see the reset happened and then this rally happened. We pushed. And then we got the FUD. I think we got the KuCoin FUD. And then we got the Coinbase FUD. And each time, though, we bounced off what I call it. This is like the danger zone for me. If we fall back below that, we risk starting to go back to the bottom of this zone that we're in between like 72,000 and like 61. But we actually bounced off it fairly strong. And so we held that really strong. I mean, we had sellers all day. Literally, the second the US market opens, it's like these people come in and just sell everything they've got. And honestly, it's usually because of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and their outflows. They've got still, I think they've got like half of their Bitcoin still left to sell. So they're still able to just chuck it on a daily basis. But the good news is we bounced off of here. Let me see if there's any questions. All right, cool. Any questions, drop them through. If you can't see my screen, let me know that as well. But we bounced off again. So we passed through the danger zone, which tells me that we're actually holding pretty strong. And that's probably going to coincide with the 4-hour trend. So when you look at that, it perfectly coincides with the 4-hour trend. So as we're pushing, every time we touch it, we typically drive up. So then as we came through and we got all the FUD, we came back, we tested the 4-hour trend and we were able to push through, tested it again, pushed through, and now we're pushing again. So now we're looking like we're in a pretty good position. We're coming into a long weekend. Tomorrow, the stock market's closed. So that means that Grayscale is not going to be able to dump enormous amounts of Bitcoin on us, which is good because then that means that Bitcoin's probably just either going to sit sideways or maybe it'll go on a little bit of a rally. It seems like the weekends are when the rallies start happening now. And then it carries over into the weekdays. And interesting theory behind that is basically the way the stock market works and the bigger players is they're going to go with whatever the direction the trend is going in. So if the weekend if the weekend launches an enormous rally, like let's see, Saturday we start pumping into Sunday, pump into Monday. So basically the traders are just going to go with wherever the momentum's going. Then we get Coinbase FUD, and then we start pushing. So now if we push through the weekend or at least sit sideways, it's essentially going to set us up for a good open on Tuesday because we have Easter that's observed on Monday. So the stock market won't be open on Monday either. So we've got a pretty long weekend with nobody being able to essentially jeet the coin for a while, which is good. When we look at ETH, it's in a similar position. ETH was able to bounce off its what we could call its danger zone. So ETH has been able to hold above. It kind of tested this daily trend and it's kind of just barely sitting above. It actually bounced off the RSI 50, so it doesn't look bad. Looks like it's in a decent position to come back up and probably test somewhere near this top, this 4,000 zone is what I would anticipate, maybe somewhere around like this 3,800 zone. If we kind of map it out. Go to the 4-hour chart. If we map it out, we're probably looking at, I'd say we probably get probably somewhere between like 38 to like 4,000 if ETH can rally with Bitcoin. It's not going to rally as hard because it's not an ETH-led rally. It's a Bitcoin-led rally. When we look at Sol, it's kind of a similar situation. Sol doesn't look as strong as Bitcoin. It looks about as strong. It looks weaker than ETH. You can see it starting to peel under on the 50. It's kind of like just sideways. It's not sure if it wants to pump or dump right now, which is going to be essentially dependent on Bitcoin not dying. But if we look at it, we kind of have a good, decent bottom here at 180. I think Sol probably pushes into the 210s again. It's at least probably going to push up and double top. It doesn't look great here, which also tells me we could consolidate and go sideways. It's hard to make a definitive choice or answer when the RSI looks like this. That looks like pure trash. It is moving up, but it's kind of like just saddled on this 50, which isn't really good because there's no real clear direction on the market and like where it's headed. We have no idea. You can see every time it pushes, it gets shut down, push, shut down, push, shut down, push, shut down. And so it's not the best. It's not the best thing to be looking for. When you look at Sol against the daily, we're sitting just under a little bit of resistance right here, which is probably why we keep getting rejected off this point. But the good news is it has bounced off the daily, which probably at least gives us the strength to push back up in this like 205 region, clear that. And then we start pushing into the 218s. That's kind of what that looks like. Let's take a look at, I know everybody's wondering about RWAs right now. So I put a list that I like right now. I think Ondo is a monster. I think it's barely $1 billion market cap. And when RWA started to really get popular, it was about right here, like the 70 cents ish zone. It kind of started, let's go to the 4-hour trend. So what it did was it was able to kind of push through off this 4-hour trend, but now what's happening, it's getting rejected off this 0.94 zone. And so you can see it coming back down to the 4-hour, come back up and retest this 94 zone, reject it again. So now it's going to come back down to this 89 zone. So right now we're kind of just sandwiched in between this 0.94 and this 0.89. If we look at it on the, and kind of try to figure out if we have any sort of, we don't really have much of a consolidation right now. I mean, I guess you could call this the consolidation zone. Probably something like that. What I'd be looking for on this one is probably if we keep just tapping and failing, I would probably anticipate we come back down and we sweep these lows. So if I was trying to get into Ondo, I would probably be looking for an entry. I mean, ideally, my entry would be somewhere around like 0.88. If we do come back down and sweep these lows, I'd probably be looking for somewhere around 0.84, like 0.82, 0.84, somewhere like that would be a really good zone. But and if we keep bouncing sideways, the 4-hour trend is just going to push up and compress into it. So I think that puts us in a zone to potentially come back down, sweep the lows, which will coincide with the 4-hour bouncing off the 50. That's what we need. Once the 4-hour hits the 50, you're going to see that drive. That's what I would be looking for in an entry. So somewhere between like 0.88 and like 0.82, I think would be a great entry for Ondo. And what I would be looking is for this 4-hour to come back to this 50 and then spike up. That would tell me that we're able to actually push through. The other thing that is kind of challenging here is the daily had a really nice reset on March 18th, which pushed us into this place. And where there's no divergences or anything yet, it's starting to peel over right here. So if this peels over, it could have a FU pump that just pushes it straight past here. If it doesn't and it peels over here, we've got a divergence. We can probably expect it to come back down and test the 50 on the daily, which would probably coincide with somewhere around like 0.75 to 0.69, maybe a little higher at that point, like 0.81, 0.78 zone is what I'd be looking out for in that situation. So that's something to pay attention to. If this was an if then that scenario, we'd be looking for 4-hour to bounce off 50. If 4-hour doesn't bounce and 4-hour loses 50, then I'd be looking for the daily, and I'd be looking for the daily to come back down and bounce off the 50 and push. And then I'd be looking for that entry off of this daily trend. Other one I like a lot is Pendle. I think Pendle looks wonderful. It's starting to peel over a little bit, which tells me that the trend's going to need to catch over. You can see the RSI starting to peel over. When we go into the 4-hour, it's almost back down to testing that 50. So if if Pendle can come back down to like this 0.369 zone, that would be a great entry. We're kind of straddling this 4-hour. I'd probably be looking for something around this like 3.64. Yeah, you can even see it on the 12-hour. It's starting to really just, you can see it peeling over like a bent finger coming through. So I'd be looking for this to start coming this way and then maybe even bounce off the 50 over here, which would coincide with like the 3.56 to 3.79 zone. Remember, these will come through. They're pumping off of the news of BlackRock creating that tokenized asset fund. So we can obviously anticipate people to book profits and then these things starting to peel over. So don't feel like I never feel like I need to FOMO into anything. I figure out when it's going to cross and I figure out when we're breaking the consolidation channels. So if you look at this one, we had a fairly decent consolidation range that was built up. And so if you look at the consolidation range, it's like there and like right there. So you've got that range. Then what happens and what we want to do, it's like, okay, getting close, fail. Okay, getting close. You could even potentially have bought right there and then fail. and then fail, 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 no strength through. What I typically look for when I'm buying a consolidation breakout is I look for this beefy candle. So you start seeing this push, you see this giant candle push through, and then I see this one kind of start to confirm. That kind of tells me that there's strength in this breakout. When you look over here, there's the big candle, but then there's no confirmation or follow through, and it just falls through and dies. Same thing over here, no confirmation follow through on anything. That one kind of almost did it. It's just weak candles. So typically what I want to see is that confirmation, that follow through that tells me that there's still going to be strength. So it's like push, push, sideways, and then now we're sideways again. So that's kind of what I look for in breakouts. But I really like playing this where it kind of fails, comes back through, pushes through, and buying this part of the breakout. Rio, I think, looks pretty good. It's been on a tear too. This would be another one that I'd be kind of waiting for to see what it does and see when it starts really consolidating and correcting back down. I mean, it's so far off of it's starting to test its 4-hour trend. I'd probably be waiting for this to bounce off the 50. It's called Relio, but I'd probably be waiting for this to bounce off the 50. And then from here, probably you're looking at 2.46 to basically 2.60 as an entry. But I would wait for us to bounce, show a wick, and then have some strength pushing back up above, which will probably coincide with this touching the 50 and bouncing off through. Remember, if that falls through, then I go to the daily and I want to pay attention here. So you can see this starting to peel through too. So at this point, I'd be like, okay, maybe the daily trend even catches up, which puts us somewhere around like 2.30 to like 2.02. So if the 4-hour fails and we move to the daily and see if that's going to push or give us a nice spike, what we want to see is the spike like right here, down, spike through, and then you can see the follow through that comes from that. So even if, like for me, I would have bought this candle, and then I would have started to think about buying here. I would have bought this candle, and then I would have rode the rest all the way up. So it would have done pretty well for me. Soil, I think, looks really good in the RWA world. Obviously, you can see it looks great. When we go to the 4-hour, this is another one that's just been an absolute monster with this giant breakout. So there hasn't really been a good opportunity for an entry. For me, when we hit this 4-hour trend, like this 3.10 and this 2.79 zone is probably a good zone, but you can see it kind of hit and it already started rallying again, and you can see it starting to readjust on that 4-hour. So it kind of tells me that we're probably still not in a position to where this thing really wants to come back down. It's just in such a strong range, bounce, bounce, drive. And ultimately, this is going to continue driving up. So for me, it'd be kind of waiting to see what happens here. This could push here. I mean, you could see here it was divergence, divergence, and then it just keeps going down. But now it's resetting. It's kind of invalidating this divergence. So could put it to be able to put it in a position to be able to continue rallying up. So for me, it'd be waiting for it to come back and test this 4-hour and then being able to jump in and ride the wave off that. To be really patient, it would be to wait for this daily trend to catch up, but it's going to have to go into another consolidation range in order for that daily to catch up because it's already just on a monster rally. These are smaller caps. These are bigger caps. These are near like a billion. These are a couple 100,000. I think Maple's good. It hasn't been able to rally. I like it because it's available on Coinbase as well. I think a lot of the coins that are going to do well are going to be available on like Coinbase and stuff where normal people can actually get access to them. This one, you can see it starting to really peel over on the daily right here with these rejections. So when I come down and look at that, I can come look at the 4-hour. You can start to see it. I think it's going to lose the 4-hour, which tells me that I wouldn't want to touch this one until I see it come down and touch this daily. So this 19.18 to like 20.42 zone, I think would be a pretty good zone for this thing to come through. But in order of importance for me, it'd be like Ondo and Pendle, and then I'd probably be looking at Relio and Soil, and then I'd be looking at Maple in case it can come back down and touch here, and I can get a good drive off of it. Let me know if there's any questions in the comments. What does RSI mean? RSI is this guy right here. So it's this indicator. It's basically moving averages that are telling you essentially which way the stock or crypto is going. In the simplest terms possible, what I'm looking at is the 50. So I want to see something. If it's above the 50, it's bullish. If it's below the 50, it's bearish. So when you start to see things like this, like push above, fail, that's bearish. It can't clear this 50. But when you see like right over here, push above and actually hold, we've got a bullish drive. So if it's above here, we're in a bullish zone. If it's below, we're in a bearish zone. You can see it right here. Start to push, it bounces off the 50 and then pushes through. So it tells us that it's continuing to want to be bullish in terms of the price action of what it's doing. Same thing here. like bounce below 50, bounce, but pushes right through. Let's see, any other questions? I think there's probably going to, it's tough to tell. I think there'll probably be a good entry on Ondo. You can kind of start to see it developing a little bit of a range here. Like I said, we've got this top that it can't seem to clear. The way I would play this is I would be looking at, we've got this tight range here, but we've also kind of, you could also call it like a bottom area down here. But the way I would play this is this could end up being a consolidation structure that's building out because we have a clear top and we have a clear sort of a clear bottom. So what I would do to play this is I would be looking for a break. Like I just talked about, I'd be looking for a break with strength, and then I would look to enter on that break. Otherwise, you could be in this consolidation range for a while, which we don't necessarily want to get stuck in. It's not a bad thing as long as it doesn't break to the downside, which typically doesn't happen in bull markets. We want to wait till it starts to break this range. And when it does break the range with strength, then we can start to go in and enter. Typically, what I'll do is I'll go in on the break a little more when I see continuation. If we get a retest, a little more, and then let it ride. Let's take a look at the list of things that I'm kind of always paying attention to. So obviously Bitcoin and ETH. I like Optimism. Optimism's in a consolidation range. So it moves with ETH. So if ETH's not going to do anything, Optimism's not going to do anything. But you can see ever since like February 9th, or I guess we could say like February 12th, this thing went into this range, broke out for a minute, then BTC died, it fell through, went right back into its range. And now it's just stuck here. So same thing with this. I'd be looking to buy breakouts of like the 3.96 zone. Render, same thing, still it's stuck in a range too. So you can see the range it's potential it's in right now. So render entered this range like right here. It's just been basically stuck there the whole time. So I'd be looking to, we already have a position in render. In my portfolio, I bought down here, you get 512, 537 or somewhere in that zone. Bought the breakout here. And then it went on a tear, but now we're kind of waiting for the breakout to happen again. I think Say is starting to be in a position to where it's going to want to break. You can even see it on the RSI. See how it's kind of straddling this? It's not good or bad. It's just stuck. That tells us we're in a consolidation range. When we look at Say, similar thing. It's in this consolidation pattern. So when you zoom out, you can see that it just can't break this. If it does break it, it's probably headed to 118. It's still kind of sideways. The pattern's, it's starting to touch the 50 here. It's above the RSI there, or the daily trend. When we look at where it's at here, if it loses this 50 on the daily, it's got a lot more room it's just going to stay consolidating forever. It's going to go back down to the bottom of this range and then push back up. So that's kind of where we're at. We're looking for breaks of these range bound trends. Same thing with INJ, stuck in this range. So that's pretty much how a bull market works. It's going to go range right here, trend up, push, range, push, range, push. And that's how they all work. Biggest way to win in this market is to be patient. Something like TIA, I guess you could call the range like, we call it like 12.8. And then top of range is like 17.9. So TIA is kind of just stuck in that range. It's first real consolidation range. Before it was just up only. Now it's finally consolidating, which makes everyone hate it. STX. Let's see, Ordi is one that I'd like to get into at some point. It's got a range just like this one. So a lot of these, I'd be looking for the break of the 70.72 zone. I mean, if it comes back down here, maybe I'd grab it at 48, but ultimately I'm looking for the breaks of these ranges. Shadow was listed on Coinbase. So you can see a clear range here defined. It kind of straddled the bottom, push, finally broke the range. So now Shadow's in a decent position. WIF had a small consolidation, basically a consolidation like right here and the bottom like right here, and it broke through that. So it was a little concerning right here, but then it peeled through and now it looks pretty good on the daily. It looks like it's blue skies from here for WIF. Yeah, you can see it's kind of rejecting right here at 3.99. If it clears that, it's going to 4.53. If it clears that, it's moving up to 5.23. So WIF's got a lot of room to move. I like Jupe. It's basically the Uniswap on Sol, but you can kind of see it has this consolidation range. It's not going to move until Sol does. If Jupe actually is able to break where it's at, then Jupe's it's a newer coin, so it's got a ton of room to move. It's in price discovery, basically. A couple others that I thought did really well. Illuvium started to break its little pattern, its consolidation range. I think Illuvium's got quite a bit of room to move. You can see it bounced off this 50, started pushing, kind of rejecting now, which isn't great. So it's going to come back down and tap this. If it can bounce off, it's going to produce a pretty good rally. The other one I think did really well was DAR in the gaming sector. Started to push above that 50. Now it's going, it's holding right here in this 0.25 zone, which would be great because it's been basically stuck in this like 0.23, 0.18 zone for a minute. If it can break that, it probably pushes to 0.29 and then 0.31. So it puts it in a pretty good position to start running. We'll look at memes and when and all that in a second. I talked about Ocean already. It's got the monster coin creation. So I think it's got room to go. If you guys have questions, post them in the chat. I'm going to double check it. What's up, Elfo? Will I be letting you know? Yeah, I mean, for you, if you're new, it's be careful longing, be careful jumping into leverage. I mean, I would say 95% of the things I'm posting in dudes are spot plays. I'm not leveraging anything. And we're still doing anywhere from, I mean, a good play, it's anywhere from 40 to like 150, 200%. I mean, you can't ask for much better on a spot play. It's absolutely ridiculous that we can actually pull those kind of numbers in spot. So, I mean, if I was new and I wasn't looking to lose my shirt, then I would probably be more interested in the spot play. So everything that I put in my portfolio is a spot play. I'm probably only about 5% leverage, and my leverage is really just Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and the occasional breakout that I want to trade. But I really think spot, it's so much easier and so much stress. It's so less stress. So we can, for example, we bought Doge at 16 cents. We're up like 40, 50% or something like that. And we did that. We did absolutely nothing. There's no leverage. There's no stress. Just makes it a lot easier to manage. Sui, I think looks good. It wants to break. You can see this consolidation pattern starting to break out. Prime's one I've been interested in accumulating. I think it has a really good play in the game. And you can see this break, see that reset on the daily. That's what I'm looking for. Now, if the next daily can close and we get continuation up to range, then I think we have a really good chance of breaking that. That's a really nice reset on Prime. Doge called this, we were at like 16 cents or something. You can see that clear breakout. So we have this like range here. Maybe you could call bottom range, but we have a little range, and then we have that nice breakout continuation drive. So it looks really good, even coupled with this daily RSI reset. Let's see. Cello been holding good, 130. Yeah, I'll check out Cello. What indicator is that? Yeah, these are standard. That's just the RSI. So you just go on TradingView and you look for the RSI. And then the other one I have is just multi-EMA, 13, 21, 55, 100, 200. That one's really good. And then auto fib extension is the one that kind of automatically makes the extension for me. Those are the main ones I use. I use auto fib extension, multi-EMA, and then I use the RSI down here. Okay, we kind of already looked at Pendle. Let's go look at memes, because memes have been just on fire. So WIF looks good. Like I said, I think if WIF can clear this zone here, this 3.97, I think it has room. It just automatic. This is the golden fib zone. So if it pushes through that, we're going to see it come through here, maybe reject off 4.53, but it's going to bounce and probably drive to 5.25. So if we can clear this zone at the 3.99, it probably clears, and I would imagine we get a retest, and then it's going to go on a monster rally. So I think we can expect a lot more. Looking at it, your first stop's going to be 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised to be 5.25, and if it gets really extended, we're probably in the $7 range. Just because it's a really nice rounded reset on the RSI. Just everything looks like it's going well for it. Bonk looks good. It's just crossing over the 50 on the RSI, starting to really starting to really push back up. It's coming out of this downtrend, so it hit the bottom. Really nice drive through, lots of follow through. It's stuck right here, clears that. We push up to like this 3365. Bonk minimum, we push up to this 3355 zone. I think if it really starts moving like WIF, Bonk can get up to this like 5604 zone and start clearing where it was previously and really get past its previous highs. Doge, we just talked about. Doge has room, a ton of room. You can see so you can see what happens when it clears this golden fib zone. Doge just prints a God candle, and then it starts rejecting out this 0.22 zone. If it can clear that, that puts Doge at the 0.25. And if it gets really extended, it probably puts the 0.33 zone. Doge to $1 is a meme. And those prophecies, sometimes they just magically come true because people just will it into action. So something to pay attention to. Sometimes these memes, they don't really run logically. Sheeb looks similar to Bonk, bounce it off the 50 on the RSI. It needs to clear this zone here, this 3212. Then it probably gives it room to 3734, which is pretty much top of range. And then it starts running. Flocky looks better than those two. It's kind of got a nice reset here. It's actually cleared the danger zone and it's moving back up. So I think Flocky has quite a bit of room to move too. When we look at the EMAs, you can see how it comes down. It's already bounced off, cleared through, pushed, and shown strength above. Same thing here, shown strength above. Same thing here, massively above. Bonk. Same thing here, strength above. So all of these are just looking like money. Like Pepe looks good too. It's just sandwiched between the top of the daily trend and right here. If it clears that, it pushes. So Popcat, I'm always amazed that Popcat just doesn't stop moving. Looking at Popcat, man, Popcat looks great. Popcat and Whiff, actually, I've noticed they move together really well. It's like dog versus cat, two Solana coins. So when we look at Whiff, you have the daily RSI reset, everything coming through. It looks good. It's got a nice God candle. When you look at Popcat, similar thing, daily RSI reset, looks good. Got a nice God candle printing. They both look really good. Popcat's clearing that 0.618 zone. If Popcat can hold above this 0.33, I think it has strength to get past that 0.39, and that puts Popcat in a zone to probably push to 0.46. And I think if it really gets extended, we got 0.67. You could even, for whatever reason, this one's a really strong cat coin. So, and I've noticed that it moves really closely with how Whiff moves. If Whiff's pumping, Popcat's pumping. So something to pay attention to. When it tried, it printed that God candle, pushed straight through that golden fib zone, really pushed off the daily trend, pushed all the way up here. It actually had a better rally than anything, and then it got rejected really hard off of this zone. But it was able to bounce off the golden fib. So if it can close and bounce above there, I think it puts Popcat in a position to come back, or not Popcat, when in a position to come back up and challenge this zone right here at the 5164229 zone. Bowden, man, Bowden's defying all odds. This thing's a monster. Can't even look at it on the daily because there's no data. But if you look at similar thing here, Bowden's been able to bounce off of that RSI, bounce off the RSI 50, kind of, it's still in a good bullish position, cleared this kind of consolidation pattern. As soon as it did, it pushed, God candle printed, pushed us above this golden fib zone, pushed, and now it's kind of just incrementally pushing up. When I start to see candles like this, it's telling me that it's slowly grinding up, which is going to end up in like an impulse candle, most likely to the upside. So which is going to put us probably in the 0.53 zone is what I'd be kind of looking for Bowden. Let's see what else looks good. Everyone keeps asking about BOEM. It looks like it's actually peeling over, looks strong. So it came all the way down in the 4-hour, pushing through, pushing above the 50 on the RSI. If it can continue and clear this red line, then it's going to show continuation. Then it's going to start breaking this downtrend. It's going to start moving into an uptrend. If we just map out this downtrend here, it's on the verge of breaking out of that. So if it can break out of that, I think it's in a really good position to start running and actually creating an uptrend out of this. I'd kind of be watching. This would be a really nice breakout because it would be clearing this RSI or this EMA band, and then it's going to clear this downtrend, which is going to put us in a position to 0.13846 to retest that, and then probably at least starting to clear these junk zones. So 0.14, 0.15, and then that zone. So that's kind of what I'd be looking at for that. Some of the ones that I like over on base, like Tashi, looks really good. Even meme coins, it had this consolidation structure, consolidation, breakout, consolidation. It's doing the same thing that I was talking about a second ago. It's slowly grinding up. A lot of good tails. It's getting pushed down, but ultimately what this leads into is an impulse candle to the upside, especially in a bull market. I think Brett, another meme that looks really good. It's really starting to try to break out. It keeps getting rejected pretty hard, but you can see that RSI is bounced off the 4-hour here. Dog in me. It had a pretty nice uptrend, came back, tested this 4-hour. It's kind of getting shut down pretty hard. These things move like crazy. It's hard to even chart the meme coins. You got to figure out pretty much you got to figure out where the consolidation is. And then when the breakout happens, you play that. So what I think is going to happen here is this is going to come down and push out that 4-hour on the RSI. And if it bounces, it's going to continue going. If it falls through, it's going to go into a consolidation. I think Normie starting to look better. So Normie here, you can see in the 4-hour, it's cleared. It's actually pushing through. This is good. If it shows continuation, it's probably going to impulse. It's above the 4-hour trend here. So I think Normie looks primed as long as it can hold above the RSI 50 and it holds above this trend. I think it puts it in a really good position to at least come up back up and challenge this like 0.15 zone. I think Mochi looks good too. Mochi's actually bounced off the RSI right here, starting to clear. If it can clear this and impulse, then I think we have the position to move back up and start challenging like this 0.68 or 66873 zone. And I think that would be a pretty good spot. Slurf, it's still kind of in this consolidation. So consolidation fell through, came back in, tried to push, failed, came back at the bottom, probably going to push back up. So Slurf's just going to keep grinding. I'd be looking to play breakouts of like this 0.8691 zone because that's kind of where the consolidation pattern is sitting. Concerning thing is it's fallen below the 50 on the RSI. So if it comes through and it rejects, it might actually fall through this, and then it's going to start just trending downward again. So something concerning to pay attention to. Let's see, any questions? Cool, appreciate you. Yeah, happy to help, Corey. Good to have you on here. Pepe, I'll check out Celo. Let me check out that real quick before I forget. I've actually been surprised at how strong Celo Gold has looked during this bull market. Let's take a look. So what's going on here? It had a ridiculous uptrend. It had even this giant God candle printed, and then it kind of erased the entire thing. But from where I'm at, concerning thing for me, what I liked is it bounced off the RSI, but what I don't like is as soon as it did, it showed zero strength and it's starting to peel back over. So what I'd be looking for this one would be holding above this trend. So it needs to hold above this like 1.264 and this like 1.279 zone. If it loses that, what I'd be looking at is a retest down here at 120. And then if we lose 120, we're probably going straight to 113. And then it's just going to continue consolidating to the downside. Looking at the daily, we can map out a bit of a consolidation structure. So maybe like right here and like right here is the zone that I think we're going to consolidate in for it. Notice how it's above. If it's above, it's going to be great because it's kind of breaking this structure that it's been stuck in for a while. It's actually been stuck in there since like February 29th. The good news is it broke out. The bad news is well, I guess this is good news too because it bounced and then it pushed. The problem is it's coming through, it bounced again and pushed. So what we have to do is just hope and pray that it holds above this trend and holds above the RSI 50 because then it'll start to impulse again and it'll start challenging some of the upside. You can see it's getting rejected off of this like 1.328 zone. If it can finally clear that, it's going to give it strength to probably go up to like the 140s and past the 140, that's the golden fib zone. So we'll probably see like 146, even 154 is what I'd be kind of looking for that one. So all in all, the good news is it does have a little bit of a breakout of the trend. The bad news is the breakout doesn't look very strong. So we could see it potentially fall back into that trend. And if it falls back in, it's just going to go straight back down to like the 106 zone and then probably bounce off that and just trend again. So something to pay attention to. When I look on the daily, daily looks a lot better. Okay, when we look at it on the daily, it makes me a lot happier. We should have looked at this first. So it crossed over the RSI 50. Looks really good here. It actually broke this consolidation structure. It looked good. Like I would have bought this breakout. So it broke it broke here, showed strength, fell all the way through, and then it actually bounced off. So honestly, with how the daily looks, I'd be comfortable with it. I think it looks good for more upside with how the daily looks. The 4-hour wasn't making me very happy, but as long as it holds above this like 1.274, I think it's got a lot of strength. And I think if it holds above that, it probably pushes to like 1.46. So that's going to be the first target. Second target is going to be like this 1.594. Third target is going to be like 1.736. So honestly, it looks a lot better when we zoom out and look at the daily. Cool. We checked out Pepe, I think. double look at it. I mean, Pepe looks good. Look at the daily. Pepe's above the 50s, kind of sideways, of which I don't necessarily like. And you kind of see that because it's rejecting off of this zone here. What I'd be looking for is for it to clear that. So this point, this 818 zone, because if it can clear that and it can hold above, it's probably going to push to this like 953 zone. So then if it holds above that, the next profit zone is like 1071. So that's what I'd be looking at. We needed to break this. We need an impulse on the RSI and an impulse here to push it past this, which I think what might happen, it's already bounced off the daily quite well. So I think as long as memes keep holding, I think Pepe is probably going to have the strength to push through. It's been stronger, but lately, as long as the problem is WIF sucks all the liquidity out of the market. If WIF runs, PopCat runs. If PopCat runs, it kind of starts sucking liquidity away from like Pepe and stuff like that. So something to pay attention to. But it seems like the hottest memes right now are WIF, PopCat, Bowden. I think this is going to be. I think this one is obviously nothing on this stream is financial advice, but this is an election year in the US. And because of that, I think this thing goes absolutely insane. It's just too easy to make a meme making fun of like Joe Biden. No matter what end of the political spectrum you fall on, who cares? But when you have a meme that makes fun of a incumbent who's actually president, who's actually running again, you've set everything up for just massive, massive run in November when that actually comes about. Any other questions? Let's check out AI. I already looked at render, told you guys it's kind of just stuck in this consolidation structure. Once it breaks that, we start pushing back up. It just needs to break that structure. That riding off the news looks pretty good. It's kind of coming close to that golden fib zone. So 3.47, clear that, we get 3.77. AGIX, another one. The other one was Ocean. That's part of the super trio. Ocean probably looks the best out of all of them. We have Ocean in the portfolio. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Let me know if you guys have any questions. These would be my kind of things I'm looking at in terms of AI, Render, FET, AKT, AGIX, Ocean, WorldCoin, AI, Sleepless AI, Aleph. I think it's a really small cap, so be careful with this one, and it moves wildly. I think OXO, but it's not able to break a consolidation structure right now. PAL, not able to break consolidation. Prime, the reason I like Prime right now is because it had this downtrend and now it's bounced off the 50. So like I said, if we see strength, I think Prime looks good. Prime is kind of like gaming plus AI. So I think it has a lot of potential because it has multiple narratives working for it. Other than that, gaming was starting to do well, but I think memes are just sucking the liquidity out of the market. So nothing really to pay attention to there. We talked about our RWAs. Overall, that's it. I think that's all I've got to say. Let me know if y'all have any questions in the comments, and we'll sit here and jam for a little bit if you want to. Who else is still watching? Let me know if you're still here. There's a few of you. If you are and you enjoy this broadcast, just go in the dude server, give me some Fire Elmo emojis, and let me know what you liked about the broadcast. If you're in wherever you're at, just let me know that if you're on Twitter, if you're in the servers, just let me know where you are and what you liked about what I put out. And if there's any questions, be sure to drop those. I think I'm about done though. Gonna cut out and say sayonara. Yeah, thanks for jumping on, Corey. It's good to see you. Corey and I go way back. He's an OG, original gangster with me. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. I mean, big thing to pay attention to is we're in a bull market. It's not that challenging. Like if you're new at this game, don't play on leverage too heavy. Don't be crazy with it. You really just come at it slowly. It's really easy to do well as long as you just do less. Like, for example, like the way we played Render. When I played Render, it was in the $5 zone. I saw this consolidation pattern. I just kind of waited, set an alert, saw it break, saw it reject, but then I saw it break with size, got in like right here. I didn't buy right at the break. I bought up here and then watched it come through, watched it come back and retest and then build a God candle. And then all of a sudden we were magically 150% up. So that's all. It wasn't that challenging. It's just buy the breakouts, be patient and let it run. And now it's let the breakout happen. Wait. When the breakout happens, buy the breakout, let it run, be patient. It's all you have to do. And you don't have to trade on crazy leverage or anything like that. Like we went 150% up in one little trade. We did the same thing with Ocean. I think we're 50% up at that point, where in terms of my list, it's like I bought Sol. I haven't bought Sol in a while. We bought Optimism at $1.50. So we bought the breakout range right here. We bought Render on the breakout range. It went up 150%. So there's a lot of things in here. We bought TIA. I bought it up here recently, but we bought it at $5. And then we watched it just break out and just never stop running. So that one was up like 500% at one point. So a lot of that's just plain breakouts. It's not being crazy. It's not buying anything insane. It's not playing on an overextended leverage. It's just being patient. So that's it. With minimal liquidity, what would you recommend? And I would say it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you have minimal liquidity, I think one of your number one best bet's probably going to be trying to get some airdrops. I think if you can get airdrops in the Solana ecosystem, you can get some like TIA, INJ, Atom staked. You could probably get some airdrops that are going to quickly be able to enhance that liquidity, like the JTO airdrop. I know a lot of people who got like 10, 20, 30K from it for not doing too much. And I think the other side of things, you can trade minimally on lower leverage. The problem with lower liquidity is people want to trade on like 40x leverage and they get absolutely wrecked and lose all their liquidity anyway. So then it just becomes a game of one foot in front of the other. It's play a little bit, play a little bit, play a little bit more, play a little bit more. And then each time you have a win, put a little bit away. And so actually the way I play leverage is I'll have a coin that runs on leverage. I'll make profit off of that coin, and then I'll take that profit and I'll use it to reinvest back into spot. So then what I'm doing is I'm essentially double dipping. I'm using leverage to ride up, taking the profits from leverage, reinvesting that back into spot, and then riding spot up through the bull market. So I'm able to consistently produce ROI off of those profits. And it doesn't have to be in all those markets. You can take the profits off leverage, put it into Bitcoin, Ether, Sol, and just consistently do that, cycle it back in. And then all of a sudden you build a portfolio in those assets, or pick the most important things to you. Like for me, the most important things are to have like, you want like Bitcoin and maybe a BTC beta. I want ETH and like an ETH beta. I want Sol and like a Sol beta. I want some AI thing, a gaming thing, and RWA and memes. And that's it. And try to get things that combine. So it's like AI, we have like render would work, or we've got rent, all these choices. It's just like you could pick Prime. Prime handles AI and gaming, so it's 2-in-1. RWA, then I go in here. I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to do to try to build a position in RWAs? Oh, okay, I'll pick Ondo or Pendle. Okay, cool. Oh, gaming. Okay, well, what should I do with gaming? Oh, let's find a list of games. Oh, cool. Well, we can satisfy that with Illuvium, Prime. All these things are gaming. DAR, Alice, Gala. So all those are okay. Now I have a game. Okay, Sol beta. Okay. Well, let's go here. And let's say, okay, we have Solana. What's a good Solana beta? Oh, well, we've got Pyth or Jupe. Okay, perfect. Now we're set with that. Okay, ETH and ETH beta. Okay, cool. Well, we've got ETH. What's a good beta to that? Oh, Optimism. Okay, perfect. Okay, we got BTC. What's a BTC beta? Oh, STX. Perfect. You've either got STX or ORDI. So, and then you got your entire portfolio mapped out, and you literally all you do is just DCA into these when they start breaking out, and then you ride the wave on everything. You don't have to do any sort of cycling. You don't have to shift money around. It just becomes an easy game to play because then it's just about being patient and riding the bags up that are already enhanced because people are interested in that particular market. Yeah, just I mean, big thing with you is be patient. Don't try to jump into trades. Don't try to jump into anything crazy. Just kind of first thing I would do is watch how they play out, get a feel for it. Even just do it with spot. Buy what's being said in spot and then play it that way. So that way the loss, if something happens, is a lot lower and you can actually hold spot and it puts you in a position to be a lot more comfortable longer term. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. Remember, this whole thing isn't financial advice, but I hope that this is helpful for everyone watching. If you like the broadcast, retweet it on Twitter, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you're in the Discords, just let me know what you liked about it. And that's it. I will talk to you all later.